What is up, you guys? Welcome back to my channel. If you are new around here, my name is Carly. I'm a labor and postpartum doula, and I create content all about pregnancy and labor and motherhood and pretty much everything that falls in between. And I am pregnant currently with our second baby. We have a 20-month-old named Wilder. I am currently in my second trimester, and I wanted to sit down today to answer all of your questions about the first trimester. I asked you guys over on Instagram to drop me any and all questions you had about the first trimester, and I would answer them for you from my personal experience, but I would also answer any of your questions as a labor and postpartum doula as well. So I am going to go through all those questions today and give you guys my answers. If you're not following me on Instagram just yet, head over there and follow me. I am always on stories there interacting with you guys, and I absolutely love chatting with you. So definitely head over and follow me there. And before we jump into the video, if you are not yet already, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. I would love to have you as a part of this empowering community, and give this video a big thumbs up if you enjoy Q&As. I don't do them too often, but I really like to sit down and do them sometimes. And today is a rainy, stormy, thundering day, so I figured it would be the perfect day to sit down with you guys and be a little bit more chatty. So let's go ahead and jump into it. I've got a lot of really awesome questions. I'm probably going to start with just kind of our basic questions, and then we'll get into some of the little bit more like juicy and like heavier questions. So the first question that I got was, did you know you were pregnant this time? I didn't think I was pregnant. It was the first month that we tried, and I just didn't really feel pregnant. I had taken 2 pregnancy tests that technically were 6 days before my missed period and 5 days before my missed period, and they were both negative. So I really just didn't think I was pregnant. I didn't really feel pregnant. I didn't have any symptoms that really gave me any indicator that I was pregnant, other than I did chart everything, and I used like a basal thermometer and used ovulation tests. So I knew that if I wasn't pregnant, that we did everything we could to ensure that I would get pregnant, but I really didn't feel super pregnant. If you guys are interested in charting and seeing like what I did personally to track my cycle and like optimize my fertile window, I did a video all about like how I personally did it, and I will link it here for you. I also have a playlist where I talk about fertility and just like the basics of it. So if you're interested in that kind of information, I will link it here for you. But yeah, overall, I didn't really think or feel like I was pregnant. Which leads me to the next question of, how early did you experience symptoms of pregnancy? And for me, I wrote down some of my symptoms. Actually, here, I wrote them down. I kept them in like my notes app on my phone. So let me see. So yeah, I mean, I had some symptoms. I wrote them down from like 4 DPO all the way to 14 DPO, because I was just curious, like if I wasn't pregnant, things that I thought maybe could be indicators, but didn't really feel like they were. So like 4 DPO, I was crampy and irritable and my boobs were sore. 5 DPO, I was irritable. 6 DPO, I didn't notice anything like out of the norm. 7 DPO, I did have low cramping, kind of like you would experience right before your period. So that's kind of why I thought also I wasn't pregnant, is that I just kind of had period symptoms. I had low cramping and an upset stomach, and I was super gassy. 8 DPO, I had low cramping in the morning, and then at nighttime I also had low cramping. So it was like early in the morning and then late at night. And I was constantly going to the bathroom, which can be a good indicator of pregnancy, but I was also drinking a ton of water, so I didn't think it was that abnormal. I keep one of these with me, and I drink like 6 of these a day. So I didn't think that was that abnormal. And I also had gas, but I had dairy that day. So yeah, I kept all these notes. I was super tired, 9 DPO, and craving orange juice, which is something that I don't often crave. So that was kind of abnormal. And I had, again, the same low cramps at night, and then first thing in the morning, gas, but again, I had dairy. 10 DPO, I had low cramps and gas. And 10 DPO is when I had a pregnancy test that showed positive. So I kept writing down my symptoms. 11 to 12 DPO, I had a sore back and low cramps. 13 DPO, I had really sore boobs and slightly less intrusive cramps. And then 14 DPO, cramps and a sore body. So those are all of the things that I took notes on as far as symptoms are concerned. But as far as really big symptoms, I started to experience nausea and food aversions right around 5 weeks. So I remember very specifically, I wanted to like treat myself that day. It was one of my work days. I went to one of my favorite places to get breakfast, and I got my favorite chai tea latte. And I got one of my favorite like breakfast sandwiches, and I was eating it, and I just could not finish it. It was just totally like, oh, I still remember the feeling of just being like, what is wrong with me? And I was supposed to be at the coffee shop working all day, and I just went home. I couldn't figure out what was wrong, and then it hit me that I was having nausea and food aversions because I was pregnant. I already knew I was pregnant, but that's kind of when it really set in. And from that point until currently now in the second trimester, I'm still experiencing pretty severe nausea and really severe food aversions. I struggled a lot during the first trimester, which we will talk about more because I have some really good questions about that. So that was the earliest kind of symptoms that I experienced. And someone actually asked me, is low cramping around 5 weeks normal? And honestly, everyone's experience is just so different. But for me personally, I experienced low cramping all from, as soon as I started taking pregnancy tests of like being only a couple of days past ovulation all the way up through 10 weeks, I had low cramping. So yes, I personally would say cramping around that period of time is very normal. During the first trimester, it's really hard to manage anxiety because there is a concern almost all the time of just making sure that your pregnancy is safe and trying to do everything you can to ensure that you make it through to the next trimester. And I know that it can be really traumatizing, especially if you have experienced miscarriage during the first trimester. There can be all these signs that you keep your eye out for to know if you're miscarrying or not. And I know cramping is always one that scares people a lot. So just trying your best to be in tune with your body and listening to your body whenever you are feeling like tired, or if your body is just telling you you need to sleep more, or if you're feeling like you're just overwhelmed by things more easily and having more anxiety. Just try to really hold that space for yourself whenever those things are happening, and just giving yourself like time whenever you need it. So is it normal? I would say yes, but I think what is more important is to try and manage the anxiety that can kind of come around with anything that your body does that might feel abnormal, even if it's not just cramping. That would be kind of my answer for that. Rex for favorite prenatal. So for me personally, I really struggled during the first trimester to take my prenatals. There are a couple of different companies that I really like the prenatals for, but for me during the first trimester, I could not swallow pills. I struggled so badly to keep them down. It was just like my gag reflex was just really, really strong, and I was super nauseous all the time. And so I opted to get some gummies for the first trimester, and I used the Garden of Life gummies during the first trimester, and I really, really liked those. They definitely still have that like weird taste about them, but it made it a little bit easier for me to get them down, which at the end of the day, it's like just get whatever you can down if you're struggling to take a full pill, because some of the pills, it's like 8 pills for one serving, or they're like horse pills and so big and have like weird taste to them. So do whatever you have to do to get any kind of prenatal down, but I really like the Garden of Life ones. Also in my first trimester, tips for being pregnant with a toddler and a skeleton face. Yeah. Man, this question, I feel super privileged and very lucky to be able to answer this question the way that I can answer it. But I have the most amazing partner in the entire world. Is like hands down the reason that I have been able to just kind of manage the symptoms that I've had the way that I was able to during the first trimester. My biggest recommendation is to just ask for help where you can get it and from whoever can give it to you. I think as pregnant people, especially if you grew up like female presenting your entire life, we've definitely been taught to believe that asking for help isn't a good look and that we should be able to manage things on our own. Do not feel like this is the time to not ask for help. If you have the option, definitely ask. And if you have a partner with you, talk to your partner about it as much as you can and just really explain what you're feeling, how you're feeling as much as you can, and just try to honor the fact that it's a season, right? Like the first trimester does end, and usually by the second trimester, it gets better. And to just really have a deep understanding of the fact that this isn't forever, this isn't a permanent thing, and it's okay to also be experiencing something that's really difficult and still be really grateful for it. I think a lot of times we think that we can only experience like one emotion at a time, and in reality we can experience such a wide variety of emotions all at the same time. So it doesn't make you a bad person if you are grateful for your pregnancy and feeling like you're happy that you're pregnant and that you're going to be adding another person to your family, but also at the same time feeling pretty miserable physically and feeling like the symptoms can be overwhelming or feeling depressed or anxious. You can experience all of those things at the same time, and that doesn't make you a bad person. And that actually leads me to the next question, which is, I really don't enjoy pregnancy. Advice for a grateful first-time mom who's also miserable. And I understand. I really, really do. And I just want to reiterate everything that I just said, which is that you can experience more than one emotion at the same time. That is like the definition of a human experience. We are so complex and we have so many feelings and so many thoughts, and you can wake up feeling one way and then 10 minutes later feel a different way, and that's okay. It doesn't make you wrong or broken or ungrateful or like a bad person. It just means that you're human and that you are having an experience that has multiple emotions coming up at the same time. And it's also a really gentle reminder that your body is just changing so much, not only physically, but just like hormonally, the things that are shifting in your body. You're growing your placenta, and your placenta has so many different things going on and different hormones being released. And so it's totally normal to just have days that are hard and days that are easier, and it's all gonna ebb and flow and change. And again, it's just a season of life. I look back on my first pregnancy and I just had such a different experience the first time. I didn't have any negative symptoms. My situation, like relationship wise, was really complicated at the time. It was an unexpected pregnancy. And so there were a lot of other things that I was kind of balancing along with the pregnancy, but physically the pregnancy did not demand me in that way, the way that it's demanding me now. So here are my like top tips for if you have a toddler or any kind of, pressing circumstance that you are responsible for, and you're also maybe not enjoying the pregnancy as much. My first tip is go to bed early. If you have a toddler, we all know you're going to be awake early with a toddler. I used to be a night owl before this pregnancy. I'd be up until 3 a.m. Because that's when I work the best. That's when I'm the most like creative. I get my creative energy right around like 6 p.m. and I would ride that through the night. During pregnancy, I cannot do that. I cannot stay up that late. I cannot stay up honestly past like 8 o'clock. But there were some days during the first trimester where I was going to bed at 6:30. Right after my son went down, I would go to sleep too. 6:30, 7:30, whatever it took. I was going to sleep early because your sleep is so important. Second tip is so basic, just like the sleep one, but that is to drink water. I know it can be so hard during the first trimester to drink water, but I'm telling you, if you aren't drinking water, you're only making it worse. So do whatever you have to do to drink as much water as you possibly can. I had to have ice cold water. I had it like 80% ice, 20% water, and then I'd also add in lemon and lime. Any type of flavoring like that made it so much easier for me to drink a ton of water, and keeping it ice cold was just so essential for me. So that is my second biggest tip, is to keep yourself hydrated. My third tip is to practice rituals. However that looks for you. We all have different things that help us feel grounded, and like we have our rituals. I say rituals, you might say routine. I like to consider it a ritual more than a routine. Whatever it is that you need to do to keep yourself feeling grounded and like you have something to hold yourself accountable every single day is so important. The days will run together. If you are feeling miserable and sick and tired and just like fatigued all the time, the days will run together. It'll feel like it's never ending, and you need something to ground yourself every single day. This is something that's really important for me on a day-to-day basis when I'm not pregnant, and I lost sight of this and I lost track of this, and I stopped doing this when I was pregnant or when I was in the first trimester because I just felt so tired. I felt like I didn't have the energy to do that grounding practice for myself, and it affected me so negatively. And I hear so many other people have a similar experience because it's something that you don't feel like is necessary or like vital to survive, right? And at this point, we're not looking to thrive. We are only looking to survive when things are that trying on your body. However, there are things that you can do to make sure that you stay in a good mental state. I experienced a very severe prenatal depression during my first trimester that I was really scared about. I have never had a depressive episode like that before, and I definitely didn't experience that with my first pregnancy, even given kind of the circumstances I was in. And I really, really, really struggled. I had a very difficult time, and it can feel very scary and isolating to have that type of experience. So if you find yourself having a similar experience during the first trimester of feeling a very strong sense of depression, you are certainly not alone. It is okay. It's not always this magical experience that we all kind of imagine and hope it'll be. And it also, like I said a couple minutes ago, it does not make you a bad person to experience depression during a time of your life where everyone expects you to be happy and glowing and excited. It is completely normal to have that experience too. So for me, the things that I needed to do to have like a grounding ritual every day, the first thing that I did every day was make the bed. It's a small step that honestly at the time felt impossible to me, but it was something that really helped me get back on track with having my environment feel more put together and less chaotic. I made it a goal to be outside for at least like 15 minutes every day, even if it was just walking outside on my front porch and sitting there for 15 minutes, just being outside and having fresh air and the sun on my body at some point was vital for me. But again, it felt impossible. It felt so difficult to get up and physically open the door and walk outside. And if you've never had a depressive episode before, that might sound dramatic and like just get over it and go outside. And I understand the perception of that. But you also have to recognize that when you're depressed, things that feel normal and basic and easy do not feel that way to somebody who is experiencing depression. And it's the things that make you feel better are the things that feel the hardest. So setting small attainable goals are really key for feeling like you did something successful that day. And then I decided to make it a goal to go to sleep early instead of feeling like guilty that I was going to sleep early and not helping with cleaning the house or doing dishes or dinner or, anything like that. I made it a goal to go to sleep early instead of feeling guilty about the other things. And that really helped for me. I also found a therapist who specialized in prenatal and postpartum and who could kind of guide me through things and talk to me. And that was also really, really important for me and kind of working through a lot of those feelings. And the last thing that I did was focus on the things that made me happy, which at the time really I was very passive and didn't feel a lot about anything. If you don't know what I'm talking about, the way that I can describe it is that the things that I usually am like jazzed about and the things that bring me joy and make me happy and feel like myself, all of those things brought me nothing. It wasn't that they made me unhappy, that I was just apathetic towards them and nothing really brought me any joy. And so trying to lean into the things that did feel comforting and joyful really helped me. So at the time I really sat there. I remember sitting down with Drew and talking to him and being like, okay, what is making me happy right now? And it took me a long time. I couldn't really put my finger on something that evoked happiness and joy from within that usually does. And the thing that I landed on was gardening. I really found this sense of calmness and peace, and not overly happiness, but calmness and peacefulness and like centeredness and like groundedness. These are all things that I experienced whenever I was in the garden. So I really leaned into the gardening and just tried to be there as much as I could. It kind of killed two birds with one stone because I was getting time outside. I was being like kind of, physical and creative because gardening, if you've ever gardened, feels very creative. So I was really leaning into that. And that really helped me a lot. So those are my biggest tips that I can give you if you are experiencing any type of prenatal depression or feeling like you aren't enjoying it, or generally just don't have overwhelmingly happy or joyful thoughts about your pregnancy for whatever reason. This question just says boy or girl in all caps. We do know the biological sex of the baby, and we do have intentions to share it. We just haven't yet. I am not going to share it in this video, but I will share it with you guys soon. We just haven't talked about it yet. We're kind of keeping it to ourselves, just enjoying it. You know, there's so much that I do share about my life and about our pregnancies and, you know, all the things. And I love sharing with you guys, and we will share with you, but we're just kind of enjoying it for now. Are you planning another home birth? Your channel inspired me to plan mine as a first-time mom, and it was life-changing. Thank you. That makes me so happy. That is why I share the content that I do, and it brings me so much joy to know that anything that I said helped you to create the birth experience that, you know, you desired. So I love that. Am I planning another home birth? Yes, I am. If you didn't know, I did have a planned home birth with my first delivery with my son Wilder, and I made a whole video talking about my whole experience. If you haven't seen it, I'll link it here so you can go and watch it if you want like the full story. But the midwife that I worked with for that birth actually closed her practice and retired, so I have a new midwife, and I definitely want to talk to you guys more about just like the process of selecting a midwife, what the prenatal care looks like, and all the weeks kind of leading up to delivery, and just like my plans for that. So if that is a video that you guys would want to see, leave me a comment down below and let me know, because I would love to share that kind of information with you guys too. Does this pregnancy feel different than with Wilder? Yes. Yes, it does. If you haven't gotten the gist through this whole video, this pregnancy has felt very different, and that's kind of the vibe that I've gotten from everybody. I took a bunch of polls on Instagram. If you have had consecutive pregnancies, if the second or third or fourth or whatever felt harder or worse or more difficult or whatever than your first, and the overwhelming consensus was yes. So I guess it's something that I just wasn't aware of and wasn't totally prepared for. So yes, this pregnancy has been different, has felt more difficult during the first trimester, at least. Now that I'm in the second trimester, and I'll do a second trimester Q&A too, it's better, but it is still there. It's not quite gone yet. I'm hoping by 20 weeks it'll be gone, but you know, that's kind of the average answer I've gotten, is that by 20 weeks, usually everything kind of like shakes out, but I don't know. Okay. How many questions is this? Okay, I have 4 questions left. Hopefully this isn't getting too long, but we are almost done. How did you help your nausea? Your experience sounds exactly like mine, and I'm dying. I'm sorry that you are having a tough experience. I know it's hard, and I can give you all the tips. I'm gonna make a video about nausea and the things that work for it, and different things that you can try. The trouble is that nothing really gets rid of it, right? It's not like it just goes away. There are lots of things you can do to manage the nausea, but it doesn't just go away, unfortunately. The biggest thing that helped me was making sure that I got at least one like really nutrient dense thing in my body a day. For me, that looked like smoothies. Smoothies were my #1 way of just like getting something into my system that wasn't French fries or saltines or toast. You know, it's like you need to get some sort of nutrients into your body so that your body actually feels okay, because it's getting what it needs to operate at like an okay functionality level. And smoothies really helped me do that, because you can like jam pack it with all kinds of, you can basically put a salad into a smoothie and drink it down and not really notice it. That was definitely the most helpful. But it did not get rid of my nausea. It just helped my body to feel better, because your body, like the nausea is gonna always be there. And definitely, I mean, the other tip is crackers, right? Like keep crackers with you all the time. Eat crackers, keep Jolly Ranchers or like Starburst or something like that. They make like pregnancy pops. You can do anything like that you can suck on. Gum is a huge one. Anything like that will just help you to kind of like get that taste out of your mouth. I know I experienced a lot of that metallic taste in my mouth, and just having something that I could kind of suck on was really helpful too. And sleep, I noticed the days that I did not get enough sleep, my nausea was so much worse. It never made my nausea go away, but it helped it to not be as bad. So those are my like top tips off the top of my head. But like I said, I will make a whole video about like the full rundown of things you can try, what I tried and that didn't really work for me and the things that worked the most. But those are my first like kind of quick tips that I can give you. Okay, I want to have a natural birth, but I'm scared and partner isn't on board with home birth. Okay, that's kind of a two-part question, or not even really a question, just more of a statement, but two parts to it. You're scared to have natural birth, your partner isn't on board with home birth. I don't know if you're planning a home birth or not, but having your partner be on board for your decision about how you want to bring your baby into the world is really important to some people and not important to others. If you feel like you want to make sure that you guys are on the same page, then doing what you can to educate your partner to help them understand why you decided that you want a home birth, different statistics. If your partner, I think a lot of times partners are shaky on home birth because they think it's dangerous and not safe, and that the hospital is safer. So doing whatever you can just to show data, and talking about the different factors that can make you more low risk and being a good candidate for home birth. There's lots of information that you can provide your partner so that they maybe feel more comfortable. And always start with asking the questions of like, tell me more about why you're uncomfortable. What doesn't make you feel comfortable with this? How can I make you feel more comfortable? And just talking through it. It's a very emotionally charged conversation, because when you decide you want something and your partner doesn't feel on board, it can feel like, well, why don't you support, like, this is my decision, why don't you support me, why don't you trust me, which isn't necessarily always the case. So trying to approach the conversation with some neutrality is really important so that you can actually hear what your partner is thinking, and then help them try to work through that. As far as natural birth and being scared of natural birth, totally reasonable. Our entire lives, what has been pumped into our heads is from like my youngest years is that we should be scared of birth, and that birth is scary, birth is painful, birth is something that you should try to avoid. You can come to the hospital and we can help you escape this imminent pain that you're going to experience. To have that internal fear of, okay, now I actually am doing this and I'm terrified about what to expect. That's super normal because our society has kind of made us have that fear. And I am here to tell you that there are so many things that we can do to help you unpack that fear and work through all of those anxieties. Sorry, the light is changing so much. The sun is being crazy. But my first recommendation to you is to hire yourself a doula. Doulas will help you unpack all of the fears that you have and talk through all of the options, everything that you can do to hopefully, mitigate those fears before you actually go into labor. So if you do not have a doula yet, I highly recommend looking to hire a doula, virtually, in person, whichever. A doula will really help that. Okay, this one feels a little emotionally charged. Do you think an epidural is the easy way out? No, I do not think the epidural is an easy way out whatsoever. I don't think there's an easy way out to having a baby. Having a baby is an insane thing that is literally a miracle, and however that baby comes out of you, it's not the easy way out, like whatsoever. I think there are hundreds and hundreds of reasons why someone would choose to have an epidural. There are reasons that I would choose to have an epidural, and I do not think it's the easy way out whatsoever. I feel like if you have information and education and consent about your decisions to have your baby and however that looks for you, as long as you have those three things and you feel empowered about whatever decision it is you're making, I don't care what you do. Like, I just want to make sure that you feel like you know all the things that you need to know before you make decisions, and that no one pushes you into making a decision that you don't feel is best for you and your baby, because at the end of the day, that's really important to me. So no, epidural is not the easy way out. Okay, are you having any weird cravings? No, I would say during the first trimester, at least, no weird cravings. It was just like anything that sounded good, I would eat, whatever it was. I generally eat a plant-based diet, especially at home. We don't usually keep like anything that other than like mostly vegan food at the house. But during the first trimester, any food that sounded good to me, I would eat. Now being in the second trimester, food cravings wise, I definitely am craving the same things that I did with Wilder, which is just like gummy type stuff. Like, I really never, when it comes to sweets, crave like gummies or like ices or like frozen lemonade. But all those things I crave during pregnancy. So like peach rings, ices at the movie theater, frozen lemonade, nerd rope, anything like that. Like, I am all about the gummy kind of tart flavors, lemon, anything. Yeah, those are the things that I crave the most during pregnancy. Whew, man. those are all the questions that you guys asked. So I am glad that I got to sit down and answer these for you guys. Like I said, if you aren't following me on Instagram, head over there so that the next time I do a Q&A, you can send in your questions for me and I will answer them here. But thank you guys so much for coming and hanging out with me and watching this video. It's always nice to sit down and do something a little bit more chatty than my usual content. So if you guys are not yet already, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. I would love to have you as a part of this empowering community, and give this video a thumbs up, especially if you enjoy Q&As. It always helps me to know the type of content that you guys like to see. And I will see you guys in next week's video. Bye.